What is going on, folks? Welcome back. It's episode 4 of the Dots podcast, and sorry we weren't available a day earlier, but we are here now, and we are back in the flesh here on the home sideline. It's your boy, Brett's Golf 99 Brett's Brendini, Brenden Retzloff rocking with my Lombardi. Give a kiss. Take it away.
And here on the away sideline in my brother's kitchen again is Matt Crowley, a.k.a. your boy, Matty Icy. Still has not found a stable setup for this, unlike my co-host above me. But
you'll find a place eventually.
But
it takes some time.
Like we said, we are currently recording this on Friday the 20th. But, like we said, life gets in the way, especially with work and stuff, and just availability. So, obviously, we are trying to do this, but we might change this format up where we just do one episode instead of 2 episodes a week, where we just do the highlights and then our predictions to make it short and simple.
It's got very dark in here. That was really weird, but I was going to say, to back you up, when life gives you lemons, make some lemonade. That's exactly what we're doing. When life gives you a lot of roadblocks in the way, such as jobs. Honestly, that's really the only roadblock that's in the way.
Yeah, it's just jobs at this point. It's work.
And then your lemonade is you make the money, and then you get to show the people the stuff that you get to do on the side of that. But no, you're totally right, and it just takes time to be able to find a place and adjust to everything. But we thank you guys for tuning in to episode 4 here of our Dots podcast. We have a pretty good breakdown of an episode that we have for you guys today. Yeah. As Matt was saying, we're only filming the one episode this week, so we're doing a quick breakdown of what happened in last week's games, and then talk about our surprise team or player of the week, and then also break down lots of injuries. We got a lot of injuries to cover all around, and then of course the best segment that there is, our top 10s, and then our weekly pick'ems, which let's hope that this week is a much better week, sir.
Yeah, and obviously, guys, if you're enjoying our content, please go down, like, comment, subscribe, turn that notification bell on to get updates when we post. Usually we'll try to post before Wednesday and Tuesdays, really, because we have such a short turnaround. But hopefully, if we go to this one video, it'll probably be every Wednesday. Stay notified, and also go down, follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok, where we plan to do more things. Brenden, do you have the login for the TikTok? Because I don't have it.
The news about the TikTok, guys. So, last year we were able to get some uploads up, but then for some reason in the middle of last year, we just lost our account, and I don't really know how we'd be able to recover it back. So we might have to start up a new page, which is kind of funny that you mentioned this. I have a quick story to tell.
Story time with Brett.
So you guys know how I do my broadcasting job with Zaleski Sports to cover the high school sporting events that go on around the state and all that. Well, I was able to go out and volleyball event over at Hortonville High School yesterday, and then so typically what us broadcasters do after the event is you typically watch your own tape to see how you do, to recognize errors that you had and what you better on. At least that's what I do. So I end up getting back home to go check it out, and I can't find it. And I'm like, what the heck is going on here? For a second, I was like, did I even go live in this broadcast? So I just didn't say anything, or the audience didn't know why. saying anything, which would have been really bad because I'm also the sales guy for the area, which would have had a bunch of angry customers. But I didn't get any text messages from my customers saying, "Where were you for this game?" So I'm like, that can't be it. I must have been able to do the live stream. So then I look up Zaleski Sports on YouTube, right? Matt, you should look up Zaleski Sports on YouTube right now.
I'm doing that right now as we speak.
But so I go on YouTube. I look up Zaleski Sports on YouTube. The main YouTube page, not in sight. I'm like, what the heck is happening here?
How do you spell Zaleski? Z-A-L.
Zaleski. Shout out to Zaleski Sports, by the way.
There we go.
Thank you for providing me a bunch of hospitality for doing work. But unfortunately, I guess this isn't a good story for what happened with us here. But our YouTube page got taken down. It totally got taken down and shut down due to beats me, whatever it was. My boss sent me an email. I'm not getting details about it, but it's the fact that the main YouTube page ended up getting taken down.
So I couldn't find anything, and I see Zaleski Sports, and I see Zaleski Sports 2.
Oh, there's a bunch of them. That's the funny thing. We made a bunch of these YouTube pages because once this company started, actually, the people didn't have the idea that multiple people could go into one channel to do live streams. So like you can do multiple live streams at once on one channel itself just by using different stream keys from your live streams. Hopefully all this makes sense to people. But then what happened was, since everything got taken down, or I guess before, they ended up putting a bunch of YouTube pages up like all at the same time for each area being covered. So then it's like, oh, we got these recovered. Just hold on a second. But we never, especially over the last couple of years. So it was really whack. And I have a football game that's being streamed tonight. But it just really sucks because us as a company, one of the big reasons why we give these students like a memory that they can see, like the game-winning touchdown pass, a buzzer beater in a game, walk-off home run, like whatever it is, like we were providing those memories for those students. And since they're on that page and it's gone, they don't have that anymore. Unless we made a highlight video for it. But it's unfortunate what had happened. And that kind of just relates to what we were talking about because that essentially got shut down too. So beats me. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm still scheduled to work. So I think we're going to be able to make things work out of it. But I'm going to guess that this will go up before I work. But I'll still say this. Go subscribe to Zaleski Sports and check out our content that we provide as well, because it's a huge help to the company. And you can also listen to my elegant and wonderful voice on the broadcasts.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, you kind of cut out a lot during your story, but that's okay because I got the gist of it. I kind of got context clues. Hopefully the audience is smart enough to realize that context clues. But anyways, so with us going to this one video, we're gonna have to fit in a lot in. So something that we have decided is that we're gonna break down the scores from week 2 in 3 minutes, like how we guys see on Monday Night Football, with how I don't know what the guy's name is.
Boomer.
Thank you. How Boomer does everything, the hottest 3 minutes. So basically with that, I mean, well,
start from the top, man. I'll just say this. Buffalo Bills end up winning over the Miami Dolphins on Thursday Night Football. Tua Tagovailoa goes down. Biggest piece of news in that one. Bills look super good on Thursday Night Football. Next game.
Oh, hold on. I don't have them up.
I'll keep going then. 49ers end up taking the L against the Minnesota Vikings. Big debut back at home. Sam, the big man, Darnold, able to deliver a 97-yard strike to Justin Jefferson to get the Vikings that W. Justin Jefferson did get injured, but he might come back.
He is
Vikings
playing
win
on Sunday.
23-17.
He is playing Sunday. Next, we go into overtime thriller in New England, where the Seahawks come up on top, 23-20 in Foxborough. Then we get straight into the Poverty Giants, who they lose to against the Washington Commanders, who kicked 7 field goals and won 21-18. Graham Gano goes down for injury and not able to kick field goals. So, first time Giants scored 3 touchdowns and they still lose the game. Very Giants thing.
And how about some more poverty going on? The Carolina Panthers, they only put 3 points on the scoreboard against the Chargers. Chargers look really good. J.K. Dobbins, he seems to be that number 1 running back. One of the best backs that we have seen thus far in the NFL. Chargers win 26-3. And then how about some big-time beatdowns? The New Orleans Saints, their offense looking insane, scoring on their first 6 possessions of the football game against the Dallas Cowboys. Their debut at Jerry World in the 2025 season gets put to bed pretty darn quickly. Saints win 44-19.
No Jordan Love, no problem for the Packers. Packers come on top of the Colts 16-10, where they believe they had 164 rushing yards in the first quarter alone. Packers improved to 1-1 with a 16-10 victory over the Colts. Next, Browns goes into Trevor Banks Stadium, which is a stupid name if you ask me. Browns come up on top 18-13 to improve to 1-1.
And then the next game up, it's the Titans going up against the Jets, and the Jets, Aaron Rodgers, he was looking really sharp. A few questions, especially backward pass being fumbled, and the Jets were able to take it, but end up victorious over the Titans 24-7. How about a divisional round matchup from last season between the Buccaneers and the Lions? This one did not disappoint the folks, but the offense of the Lions looked a little bit on the quiet side throughout this entire game. Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield, he's looking pretty darn good. Chris Godwin, also, he might be the number 1 wide receiver receiving yards than Mike Evans, but the Buccaneers, they're able to get their revenge on the Lions and win 2016.
And another surprise, the Raiders come on top of the Ravens 26-23. I believe there's been 27 50-yard field goals attempted, 25 have been made. 2 of those misses both come from Justin Tucker. Ravens fall to 0-2. And talk about another beatdown. Arizona Cardinals, welcome to the league, Marvis Harrison Jr. Cardinals beat a banged-up Rams team who just loses Cooper Kupp 41-10.
Speaking of banged up, Isaiah Pacheco goes down with a broken fibula in the game against the Bengals. Chiefs ended up winning this game, though, but lots of controversy towards the end. The Chiefs didn't look like their selves. The Bengals let a few things get away from them, but the Chiefs win 26-25 on a Harrison Butker walk-off field goal. And then the next game up, this is one of those homecoming type of games for Russell Wilson, even though he didn't play. The Steelers went up against the Broncos over at Mile High. The Steelers and Justin Fields able to keep things going with their very minimum offense that they have shown thus far this season. They are now 2-0 after a 13-6 victory.
Going into Sunday Night Football, where the Texans took on the Chicago Bears, Caleb Williams has more nails painted than he does touchdown passes. Texans win this one 19-13 as Williams still struggles to get going with giving up 7 sacks from his offensive line. Monday Night Football, Kirk Cousins' record, I believe it was 2-10. Make it 3-10 now. Kirk Chains comes out, leads a game-winning drive with no timeouts left. With 1:46, Saquon Barkley drops a game-winning pass. And the Falcons defeat the Eagles in Lincoln Financial Stadium 22-21. And it probably took longer than 3 minutes, but that's the wrap from week 2.
That is your wrap. That was pretty solid.
That was good. That was good.
And we didn't even rehearse anything.
No, we
going
just went right off. That was fun.
That was pretty fun. We did pretty good with it. But next up order of business from us here is, so based on all those games that we just mentioned, the surprise team / player of the week I'm gonna ask you first, Matt. What are your thoughts? Who are you thinking on picking for this one? Could be good or
It
bad,
could be
by the
good
way.
and bad. So not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. I could say the Dallas Cowboys because they just completely laid an egg against the Saints. I could say the Saints as well because Saints have scored 91 points. I think they scored 15 of their 16 drives on offense.
One
Saints are
punt.
looking phenomenal. They just got a new offensive coordinator. Maybe that was a missing piece of that. Maybe it could be Bryce Young. Bryce Young just got benched for Andy Dalton. So, honestly, my opinion on that, real quick, is that if CJ Stroud got drafted before Bryce Young and went to the Panthers, CJ Stroud would also be benched right now because the Panthers have nothing going for them. I don't think it's a good place. I don't think it reflects. It should reflect on Bryce Young's career because he's getting thrown in such a bad situation that it's going to hurt him forever.
Did you say it should or it shouldn't?
It shouldn't affect his career if
Just
he wants to get
clarify.
out because look at the two other players that came from Carolina that are doing well, Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield. Like they're doing good. Like Baker
Yeah.
Mayfield just got signed a huge deal down in Tampa, then Sam Darnold's balling out. I mean, I could say James Cook as well, 3 total touchdowns. He had 3 total touchdowns last year. But, or I could say Kirk Cousins, my former quarterback, because he won on a Monday night game. That rarely happens. Or Marvin Harrison Jr.'s and Arizona Cardinals. There's just so many. I could also say the Ravens are being so disappointing. Maybe, I don't know. But with my surprise player of the week, might be a little bit biased, but I'm going with Sam Darnold. He went 2 for 1, and 2 touchdowns, 1 interceptions, 17 for 26 and 268 yards with a 97-yard touchdown to Justin Jefferson. Mind you, this was your number 1 team from last week, the San Francisco 49ers. And the stat is really funny because the Niners have not won in Minnesota since 1992, which is almost 30 years now that we actually
It was
think about it.
92. It was 92.
92. So 32 years. That stat is still in
My
Minnesota.
goodness.
But you just look at, I don't know if you saw the interview, but like Brock Purdy had such a hard time with the defensive schemes. He literally went up to Brian Flores and says, "Your scheme is crazy." Like, because they do so much that you just don't know what they're doing. Like, usually quarterbacks say, all right, they're in cover 2, they're in cover 4, they're in cover 3. Purdy is just like, I don't know what they're in. I don't know if they're blitzing. I don't know if they're in zone because they'll sack the box of 8 guys, but then they might drop 4 back or they'll rush 6 and drop 2 back, but you just never know. Even though I'm talking a lot about the defense, which huge credit to Brian Flores. But Sam Darnold coming from, obviously, the Jets when they were in poverty, not having really good, and then going to Carolina, not having a really good year there, or how many years he had. Then he goes to San Francisco, gets 1 year with Kyle Shanahan, and now he's kind of reviving his career right now. So with Minnesota, he's on a 1-year deal. Right now he's playing lights out. He's throwing 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, over 400 yards of passing. But obviously we were kind of skeptical because they did beat the Giants 2 weeks ago. But now they come in, home stadium. They were the underdogs in their home stadium against the top dog in the NFC. Another fun fact is that Brock Purdy is 14-2 against NFC teams. He's 0-2 against the Vikings. The Vikings and the Niners are the only teams he hasn't beaten in the NFC, which, I don't know if that shows you something, but the Vikings are his kryptonite. Which
Brian Flores.
Brian Flores' defense is incredible. You know what? I'm going to give it to the Minnesota Vikings. I know I said Sam Darnold, but it's Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings defense. I'm talking way too much about the defense to not give them recognition.
Yeah, I think who's their guy who's got the most tackles or the most sacks?
Pat Jones II, who was, I think this is his 4th year, I mean, he sat behind Daniil Hunter, I think Everson Griffin maybe too. But
That's a pretty good lineup.
He's had 2 sacks in 2 games. I know Aiden Hutchinson has 5.5 because he just got 5 sacks on Sunday against the Bucks, which is absolutely insane to get 5 sacks in 1 game. But Blake Cashman, who should really start talking about 3 pass deflections, 13 solo tackles, 1 pass deflection led to an interception, 1 sack, 1 QB hit. Like, it's like their defense is being so well coached. And honestly, you could ask me, I thought as a Vikings fan, they were going to win 5 games. That was I said if we win 5 games, I'll be happy for the year. But I also said maybe a couple episodes back, I can't remember, that the Vikings have a really weird thing with making like super below mediocrity quarterbacks make like good. I've seen so many memes like, oh, the MVP race in week 2, it looks like how it should be shaping up. It's I forgot, but it was like Derek Carr, Sam Darnold, I think it was Patrick Mahomes. I don't know. But it's like the Minnesota Vikings defense is just so complicated. And a lot of insiders, a lot of reporters are just saying that the Vikings outcoached the Niners. Which Kyle Shanahan, he has that whole tree with I think Sean McVay coached with him. I'm not entirely sure.
It wasn't Kyle Shanahan's tree. It was Mike Shanahan, his dad. So his dad ended up having that tree of coaches. And I think that's a good trivia question to end up giving too. Like, I think that tree, so obviously it's Kyle. Kyle was in there. Sean McVay was in there. Matt LaFleur was in there.
Oh, you're talking about isn't that the 2012 Redskins?
I believe so. Let's see who else was in there.
Because I think because KOC came from McVay's tree, so I think that might be it.
Oh yeah, that's
why
true.
I might be thinking the Sean McVay tree. Because I think LaFleur was also with McVay and then came over.
It was.
And then KOC was when they won the Super Bowl with the Rams and he came over.
That sounds correct.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, because in my junior year, they had a really successful, good year. But, yeah, I mean, surprise team / player is Sam Darnold on the Minnesota Vikings defense. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm going to try and pull up their stats for the Vikings.
To back you up in everything that you're saying, too, Brian Flores, he does have the 49ers number. He's really been able to figure them out. Last year, I believe it was in Monday Night Football. That was the game where Jordan Addison really came out of nowhere, and everyone's like, "Oh, the Vikings! They got their number 1 wide receiver without Justin Jefferson while he's injured." But then you also got to give credit to the defense, like you said. I think I'm trying to remember some details, but I think Daniil Hunter ended up putting a lot of pressures on Brock Purdy in that game. And this is also when they had Christian McCaffrey in their lineup.
Yeah,
49ers
Christian McCaffrey didn't play, but
Christian.
Jordan Mason still had 100 yards. He was averaging 5 yards a carry, 20 rushes, 100 yards, and a touchdown. Like, that's still a good day for a running back.
It's just any way that you can get the quarterback to feel uncomfortable. And the way Brock Purdy was, especially in week 1 against the Jets, you could notice a lot of QB spies that were going on with the Jets defense on Brock Purdy. And I don't think that was really the play that the Jets really should have gone with, because Brock Purdy, he looked comfortable. He had a couple of throws stable in the pocket. But once it comes to the point where you have quarterbacks like that, and quarterbacks like the Patrick Mahomes, the Jordan, Dak Prescott's, they get out of that pocket and they can to manipulate that to kind of run along them. It's game over if you're the team, because then it just becomes a man-to-man defensive type of play. But you're talking about how he goes with these defensive schemes that really just make the quarterback lost and not knowing what he was doing, as what Brock Purdy was talking about in that post game of that one.
Yeah, and like just going over like leading the team like in tackles, Ivan Pace, like he's a second year undrafted free agent, total of 9 tackles. Blake Cashman, as I was saying, sack, 5 solo tackles, 8 assisted. He was all over the place. Josh Metellus with a pick that was actually deflected off of Cashman. Then, like, just going to sacks. Cashman had a sack. Van Ginkel had a sack. Pat Jones has a sack. Jonathan Greenard, who we basically traded for Daniil Hunter, he had a sack. Like, this defense is just so good, in my opinion, that like they should be able to get recognized for a surprise, because I don't think we both had the Niners winning this game.
Yeah.
So I think I kind of talked a little bit too much about this, but the Sam Darnold and the Vikings defense are week 2's, for me, surprise team or player of the week.
I was not really surprised that you're gonna go with that. In the pre-show that we had going on, I was saying I think I know who he's gonna pick, but I'm not gonna say it. I'm like, it's probably a team in the NFC. It's gonna narrow it down, but then it would have been too obvious. No, I like what you ended up going with, because no one was expecting the Vikings to win that game. For me, I'm gonna say the surprise to me was the coaching of the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday night.
Just because how bad it was, or
it was mind-boggling to me. I'm gonna go through how this game ended up going. So it was first quarter in the game, as you might expect to see. Then the Eagles put up a touchdown. The Falcons put up 2 field goals. Atlanta in the third quarter was able, in the last 5.
You're cutting out a lot more now.
That's not good.
No, I mean, it's just like when I don't know. Just try to just start talking for a while. Just let you know if you do.
But as I was saying, the Eagles, they had the lead with about, I think it was like 5.5, 6 minutes left in this game, and all they had to do was move the ball down the field and pick up that first down at around the 13 or 14 yard line of the Falcons. But instead, so this was mainly about clock management that was going on with Philadelphia. It gets to the point where the Falcons and Coach Morris have to call all their timeouts to the point where it's like they're going to lose the game. And Philadelphia ends up declining this penalty that was on the defensive line for running into one of their tackles, like right before the snap. And this is all Nick Sirianni. This is all him here. He was the one that declined the penalty instead of taking the automatic first down to keep the game going right before the 2-minute warning, which, yes, it would have been a timeout in that time. But you have this 3rd and minimum, and it's like, why do you want to run another play to be able to get that? And they do the tush type of play, but just take the 5 yards, which I was super confused about, because then you have the fresh set of downs, which, like, yes, it makes you lose a play, but Philadelphia was set up to win this game once they got into field goal territory of the Falcons. And it comes to the 3rd down play, which, man, I don't know why they... Let me tell you this. Saquon Barkley, that might really give an understanding to how dumb the coaching of the Philadelphia Eagles. Saquon Barkley had 22 carries, 95 yards. Do you know how much that averages out to? The Eagles had a 3rd down and 3.
Probably around like 4.8 or something.
4.3 yards. That is Saquon Barkley's average yardage on his runs. And in this last drive of the game, he was chugging along with his carries. The entire defensive front of the Falcons was tired. You could tell they were getting absolutely ran over, almost like it was Detroit running over the Rams in that overtime game, and it was almost essentially that. And what does Philadelphia decide on down 3 with about 1 minute and 23 seconds left or something like that in the game? They decide to pass the football. Why? They pass the football. It's just a nice short pass to Saquon Barkley. And I'll say this. Saquon, he should have caught the ball. He really should have. That's one of those. It's a tough one to deal with because essentially he's taken a lot of blame for that. But I think this is more so on the coaching of Philadelphia. Drops the pass, and it stops the clock. 4th down and 3. Now, as the Eagles, what do? You decide to kick the field goal. And say what you want. They had about... Here's the situation. The Eagles were up by, I think it was 4 points. Or 3. They're up by 3 points at the time. So, either way, Young-Hoku he might have been forced to kick later in the game, but since they're up by 3, they're like, we're going to put up another 3. We're going to make these guys score a touchdown. And then they're able to get the field goal at Jake Elliott. And Kirk flipping Cousins on Monday Night Football. We mentioned his record earlier, 2-10, going up to 3-10, because he just walked all over Philadelphia. Looked like they were barely even trying on their defense. Like, their safeties were playing so deep, and Troy Aikman mentioned this in the broadcast of the game. He's like, they're playing so deep that the Falcons, they don't even have to go that far down the field with their routes. They can just have their guys like Drake London, Kyle Pitts, or whoever, just go up like 10, 15 yards the field, and then you got 5 or 6 yards offensive receiver and then the safety, and it's all a man-on-man foot race at that point. You could tell Drake London was absolutely destroying them on that. And then it was just way too easy for them to get that drive. And the Eagles threw this game. They totally threw this game away. There was not correct in that last drive of the fourth quarter. It was a great execution, especially when they got that stop earlier in the game on the 4th down run to Bijan, where I'm trying to remember who it was. I think it was DJ. He just ended up like reading the run, and he put down a perfect tackle on Bijan Robinson to stop him. And then that's when Philadelphia scored that touchdown to look like. And it's unfortunate. The Eagles, they really had a shot at it, and they...
Yeah, to go off, like, even, like, at the end of the game, Drake London couldn't believe it. He literally scored a touchdown and just went... Like, that's literally what he did.
Like, the Falcons ran the 2-minute drill when they didn't even have to...
That's how... I assume that you were saying that they didn't have their timeouts or something along that.
Well, so they were running their 2-minute drill, but they didn't even need to run a 2-minute drill. That's how bad the defense was of the Eagles. It was just way too easy, and then there was still like 29 seconds left on the...
Yeah.
And it's like, you put the game in Jalen Hurts' hands, and they almost have to reciprocate what the Packers were almost able to do, where they just have to drive it down the matter of... And it's like, you're not going to be able to do it, as you saw Jesse Bates. But the Eagles and their coaching, they're the biggest surprise to me. It was just... you shake your head talking about it.
If you did see the interview, the reason that they called that, because obviously the Falcons are going to run commit. they're going to stack the box with 6, 7, 8 guys and leave it. So I think they did a play action. And mind you, like, Saquon should have caught that pass. I'm not saying he didn't. It was a tough pass because it was literally an easy layup. But yeah, obviously, like, he had so much wide open room. Like, he had a defender 5 yards off him, like, completely wide open. But I don't know if you put, like, and obviously if you make that catch, you turn it upfield, you sealed the game. Like, that first down just seals the game. But yeah, like, obviously, like you were saying, like, the play calling, and like Nick Sirianni, I think, is 2-7 in his last, or like 2-7 in his last 9 games, which is horrible. Because remember how last year the Eagles were red hot, and then they just, after Kansas City,
fell off a cliff.
They literally just went, and they got first round booted from the playoffs against the Buccaneers. Like, it's been that bad for Eagles. And also another fun fact. Saquon Barkley has still never won in Lincoln Financial Field. And he's an Eagles now, so that's just put into his perspective. Even though it was his first game, it's still a funny stat to say that he still hasn't won in the Eagles Stadium.
I read something. You can put a guy in a Giants uniform on a different that doesn't take the Giants out of the.
Yeah, it's like you can take Saquon off the Giants, but you can't take the Giants off of Saquon.
And you can't blame Saquon, though, for the team losing. Like, he had a good game. It was just the one mistake. And I'm sorry, I don't think teams should pass the ball if you're in a situation where you're about to win the game and the other team doesn't have any timeouts. That's high risk, high reward.
Well, as if you're like the team, I'm gonna use the Vikings as an example. Aaron Jones didn't do really good against the Niners, mind you, and they also did win without Justin Jefferson. But you throw the ball, Justin Jefferson's there, Jordan Addison's there, Jalen Naylor's there, and you have T.J. Hockenson. Just for an example, Aaron Jones isn't having a good game. You're up by 4 points. Do you trust? And it's 3rd down and 3. It was 3rd down and 3, correct? Do you run the ball with Aaron Jones, who hasn't been having a hot day, or do you find your 3 biggest targets that are top? Justin Jefferson is top 2, but not 2 for receivers. T.J. Hockenson is a top 5 tight end, and Addison is a super reliable target. Like, so would you go to? It is different with you because A.J. Brown was out. Devontae Smith was still in. Saquon is a double threat. He's basically Christian McCaffrey.
I gotta ask you, does the defense have any timeouts?
No, I'm saying that they don't. Obviously,
I'm running the ball. I am running the ball every time. How much time's left in the game?
I think because the Falcons got the ball back with 1:46, so I would think maybe 1:50. Take 3 seconds off for the field goal, and then maybe another 2 seconds off for the kickoff.
So 1:50 is left in the game. So you got about 40 seconds on the play.
This is what like Nick Sirianni said, because he said like, oh, he catches that. Our plan was just put the game away just by getting that first down.
Yeah,
but I also know like it's a
game away by getting
the first down
by running the ball. Exactly, run the football.
I'm just playing devil's advocate because I think
no, I get it. Run the ball every time though. You're gonna be taking that 4 seconds off the. So the other team, dude, how many plays is 40 seconds in football, and especially for a team that's on a 2-minute drill. That's quite a few.
Well, yeah, that's
If they stayed in bounds on every single play, that's maybe plays that they're. And then if they're able to get out of bounds on a couple, they can get about 5 or 6. Which getting 5 or 6, that's a lot. That is a lot that you can get. Just run the ball. If you run the ball, chances of the ball game are so much higher, and especially. Saquon Barkley, he's the running back on the team. He averaged 4.3 yards per carry in this game. And you can look at the tape of the last drive of this game. Saquon Barkley ran over the defense. He ran them over. And then all of a sudden, the Eagles just decided, no, dinky, dinky, dink. We're going to pass the ball on 3rd down. They did the same thing against the Packers in week 1, and it almost cost them again. I don't know if you remember that.
Not entirely. I don't think so.
They passed the ball, and this was when the commentators were like, I don't expect them to pass the ball. What do? They pass the ball, gets dropped. And then they end up running a couple of plays after that, try to end, but they weren't able to get in it, and then they just kicked that field goal back.
Yeah,
They didn't get in.
Yeah, we're at 40 minutes, so we still have 3 more topics to go over.
Yeah, we can. I'll just close out by saying this: Philadelphia, you should have ran the ball. Probably the best running back in football, besides Alvin Kamara right now. And it's inexcusable what you guys did, but you know what? I'm not a big fan of the Eagles, so I will take that loss that they ended up getting. So congrats to Kirk Cousins, by the way.
Kirk will change
3-10 on Monday night.
Monday night. But yeah, so our next topic is injury / just injuries is like the huge thing. Like the injury demon has casted a spell on Christian McCaffrey, Puka, Cooper Kupp, AJ Brown, Jordan Addison, George Kittle. Like, it's horrible. But as we're gonna ask ourselves just like, what team does this like injuries like really gonna affect? I think it's clear cut in stone that the Rams are gonna be the most affected by it because they have the most injuries. You're without your top 2 receivers, and that offense just can't get going. And there's so many more, especially on the defensive side, that I just don't know of. I saw like an image. There's like 10 or 12 players that are injured. Like there are starters or like second stringers for the Rams. So it's like, for me, is just that's the biggest team that's going to get affected because obviously they lost to Detroit. They lost to Detroit. Yeah, they're 0-2. They're 0-2 right now, and they get demolished against the Cardinals. Like, you got to realize, like, how long, like, is this just going to be a throwaway year for the Rams, or do you still try and fight and have a chance and wait till Cooper Kupp? I don't think he did get placed on IR, but Puka Nacua is on IR. Are you going to try and wait till those guys are back and healthy, hopefully to get something going? Because you don't really have anything to rely on.
Yeah, the situation they got over there in LA is not looking good. I'm looking at their injuries here. So we mentioned they're important pieces on wide receiver like Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, but it's not just that for them. Joshua Cardi, their kicker, he's listed as questionable. He's got an injury. Their backup tight end's injured. One of their guards is injured. John Johnson, he's injured, and he was placed on IR this past Wednesday. So it's not even just the 2 wide receivers. And it's like, you're Matthew Stafford. Like, there's not much you can really do with the situation that you've been put in, as we saw what happened against the Cardinals last week. And I would say this: if I'd probably drop him point because there's gonna be nobody. I believe I have him on my fantasy team as my backup.
Puka or Kupp?
No, I'm talking about Matthew Stafford.
Oh, yeah, you were cutting in, so I didn't hear that. My bad.
So yeah, I'd drop Matthew Stafford. If I would, maybe we just gotta raise the volume on this puppy. Move this around here. How's that?
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, me holding on to the mic.
Yeah, I mean,
feeling like I'm doing my broadcasting and stuff. But no, it's really unfortunate with what the Rams have going on. I agree with you; they're an affected team. If I was to provide any variation, I really think it's the San Francisco. I think Christian McCaffrey is a huge asset to their team, and I know that Deebo Samuel he was dealing with things too, this year, but it seems like all that's figured out. But it's just the fact that you don't have Christian McCaffrey with. Christian McCaffrey was such a huge asset to the team, and I just don't really see how this team can really improve when they don't have him. It's not that I don't trust their backup running back. It's mainly just about Brock Purdy. I think he really needs him to be around him, and Christian McCaffrey, he's a great team who's there as well as San Francisco. But I would for sure say the Rams, though, are the most hit by this injury bug.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what, like you said, CMC is such a big part. But I also do think that Jordan Mason is doing a very good job of stepping up. He may not be Christian McCaffrey, but he's getting the job done.
He's stepping up, but the problem is it's not Christian McCaffrey. We saw what Christian McCaffrey was putting up last year. He scored like 23 touchdowns or something like that in his year. And he should have been, I really think he could have been the MVP of the league last year because there wasn't really a standout athlete that there was from last year other than like Christian McCaffrey. Tyreek Hill, he was up there, but he wasn't able to break that record that Calvin Johnson had, unfortunately. But if you think about it, there just wasn't really anybody. Lamar Jackson winning the MVP, he won the MVP because the Ravens had like the best record overall in the National Football League. That's all there really was to it.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Like we said, MVP is a QB award. Offensive Player of the Year is like the non-QB MVP. That's really what it comes down to. But yeah, I mean, that was a little awkward silence, but into one of our favorite segments, our top tens.
This is the best segment of the day.
Best. So do you just want to go straight into it? We're at 46 minutes right now. Try to keep it around an hour long.
Yeah, and I definitely got to get going in the next, 30-ish minutes or so.
We can make these segments quick. So
I would try not to say much information about my top 10, but we'll do the same thing that we did from last week. That sounds good to you.
We reveal each one's like 10, 10, 9, 9, 8, 8.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So, who's leading in weekly pick'ems? Are we tied?
Wait, we're jumping to pick'ems? What's going on? What?
Oh, no. I'm saying who's leading that? Who's leading that? Because I'm starting.
We're tied.
Huh?
We are tied.
Okay, yeah, we're tied through 2 weeks. So you can go first. I was gonna say the winner can go first, or whoever's leading.
I was thinking you were jumping a different topic. No. Okay, we're good. Yeah, can't skip top 10. All right, here we go. Number 10 from Breadstock Golf's NFL weekly top 10 list. I got the Green Bay Packers in as my number 10. They were not in my list after last week, after losing to the Eagles. But hey, this team without Jordan Love, not really much of a problem.
And he might be playing Sunday.
He's questionable. We'll see what happens with him there. But Malik Willis, what a job that this man has done. He's only been on the team for about 3 weeks, put into that starter role against, what's the timeout?
I'm going to say this about Malik Willis. Malik Willis didn't do anything against the Colts. Considering that it was the Josh Jacobs and running back show that won them the game, not really Malik Willis.
Do you not know what a quarterback does?
112 yards? And a touchdown, obviously. But to me, that's not enough. Clearly, the run game was working. The Colts have one of the worst run defenses in the league, if not the worst. So
it's the first 2 weeks of the season, dude. I get you can say the Colts got the worst defense and all that going on, but the quarterback is the one that orchestrates these plays. Even Matt LaFleur,
it's the offensive coordinator that calls the plays. You're really going to trust Malik Willis to coordinate the Packers' offense?
Dude, Matt LaFleur gave him credit.
Like I said, I wasn't watching that game. I was watching the Vikings and San Fran game. But yeah.
Matt LaFleur ended up giving Malik Willis credit, and his IQ in this game was actually pretty solid. Like, I agree with they ran the. There's a reason that they ran the ball a lot. The Green Bay Packers ended up going into the game against the Colts. I like how I said I'd keep this short. They went into this game against the Colts with a game plan of we're going to run the ball, we're going to take time off the clock, so we don't allow Jonathan Taylor to run the ball as much for this team because Saquon Barkley ran us over extremely hard a week ago. That's what they're thinking. So Matt LaFleur's like, hey, we just got to run the ball. What does Malik Willis, what are his strong qualities? Handing the ball off to the running back and running. Exactly. And here's the thing. He's not good at passing, but he made it work. He went 12 for 14 in this game. He had like 126 or 127 quarterback. You can't complain about that. No matter how good or how bad it's also about getting into like a scenario like Malik Willis was put into where he's got like absolutely no experience with this type of offense. And he was able to get it done. So I'm giving Malik Willis credit for what he did, and especially for holding on to the ball that his center puked on.
That was very funny, yeah. That was the only reason he didn't throw it, because he's like, he puked on it.
I don't want to throw it because my man threw up on it. So
all right.
Take it away for your number 10.
So, I can't. Where is it? Oh, it's right here. So my number 10, 2-0, is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Offense hasn't been the greatest, but their defense, I think, has only let up 16 points. The defense is what's keeping them in. And if they can get their offense rolling, I think they could be a very dangerous threat. Even I do think Justin Fields is still better than Russell Wilson. It's going to be better, but the defense is what's keeping them in these games, and is the whole reason why they're 2-0. Their offense hasn't done much, like I said. But number 10, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Steelers are pretty solid in their number 10. I don't know if you saw the stats about TJ Watt being in games, but they only have like one loss with TJ Watt in the starting role in like division games. It's really impressive. Coming in at my number 9, Philly. I got the Philadelphia Eagles. If they were able to win and run the ball against the Falcons, I think they'd be a lot higher on this list, but due to their coaching mistakes and the issues that they're into, and who knows, maybe this could lead to another tremendous downfall because this was a really bad loss. I mean, to have a loss where you're almost guaranteed that win and just manage to throw it away, you're going to have a lot of disappointed fans with your team, and it's going to be all about how you can. Otherwise, their performance throughout this game, it was solid. You got nothing to really complain about other than the fact that the coaching ended up throwing this game and literally threw the game. So, Philadelphia and at my number 9.
My number 9, I have the Green Bay Packers. Even though I was talking about Malik Willis, I will say that no Jordan Love, no problem. Run game was astounding. Colts really, really struggled. And even though it was 16-10, it was a super low-scoring, good defensive game. From what I heard, that the defense looked amazing. It looked a lot better than it did in Philly. So obviously, letting up 34 points is outrageous, but they keep it down to 10 points, which is a huge turnaround. So I do think that the Packers are still going to be fine. Obviously, from the sounds of it, it looks like Jordan Love might be playing Sunday's game. If not, he's going to be playing against the Vikings in Week 4. But if I were the Packers, not because I hate the Packers, this is a gimme win against the Titans, in my opinion. So I would still start Malik Willis, potentially doing that, and just letting Love be really good, because this is going to be your first division game against the Vikings at Lambeau. So at number 9, I have the Packers.
Nice. I like it because you were spot on about your breakdown. I'm kind of surprised. You said you barely watched any of the game, so
my buddy was keeping me in the loop. He's just like, bro, like I know Xavier McKinney got an interception. I think there was 2 interceptions that
Emmanuel
Anthony Richardson threw.
Wilson.
And I'm gonna say this: Anthony Richardson looks horrible. Yes, it doesn't help that he did miss his rookie year, but like he's looking like a rookie right now. I don't know. He might struggle with his career if he doesn't get back on track.
I think he looks really bad because the Packers just had him. If you go back to week 1 against the Texans, he looked a lot more solid. And yes, the Colts were playing at home, and he did hit like that 65-yard bomb to Alec Pierce. But other than that, his wide receivers didn't help him either. Packers defense, their corners were playing man coverage. And that's what I love about Jeff Hafley's defense over at Green Bay. He loves playing lockdown man with their corners. So I'll pick your spot. Number 8 for me, I got San Francisco. This is a big drop.
This was your number 1 team.
They ended up going down 7 spots on my top 10 list. So this is a pretty disappointing spot to put them in. But like I said, I think they need Christian McCaffrey back. Brock Purdy, he did look clueless against the Vikings. I got to watch the breakdown for this game, and yeah, he didn't look very sharp at all when he was playing it. But that environment in Minnesota, that is a tough environment to play in. I think one of us pointed this out last week where we said that environment may cost, and that Brian Flores defense that we've they're just spot on right now. They look very impressive, and San Francisco didn't have any answer to how the Vikings were playing, and this is why they came up short in this game, and they're trying to get that comeback, but the Vikings defense was just too good for them. There's a lot of promise, though, with San Francisco. They still have all their pieces. The only piece they're missing is Christian McCaffrey, and I think that they need him, so they're number 8.
At my number 8, I actually have the Arizona Cardinals. If you actually really think about it, they were beating the Bills last week. 2 weeks ago now is week 3. They blew that game, and then they just beat the brakes off the Rams. Absolutely just... Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. are locked in now. And just from like what I saw just from the past 2 weeks, yeah, the Bills are 2-0. The Cardinals are 1-1, but they could easily be 2-0 right now. But I still think that the offensive power that the Cardinals have right now with little Mr. Call of Duty, Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr., it's going to be good. Obviously, like I said, like we said, the Rams are absolutely injured prone right now. It doesn't help that. But the Cardinals still beat I think it was 44-21 or something.
41-10?
It might be. That's even better. Then that defense is getting stuff done. But yeah, at number 8, I have the Arizona Cardinals. I didn't expect them to be this good, but after week 2, I was shocked, to say none the least.
And they looked really, really good. And in my number 7, I'm showing some love to your team, man. The Minnesota Vikings. I mean, we've already talked about it. I don't have too much to really say because we've mentioned the points. Brian Flores' defense, I think that they're the key piece to getting those victories. Justin Jefferson, Sam Darnold. And like what you said with the Vikings and their quarterbacks where they're mid, they just make them look good. Maybe this is a second coming for Sam Darnold. A lot of people are really hoping that that's the case, and that'd be really special, actually. And maybe to what's going on with Bryce Young, maybe this is like the type of thing that he needs. He just needs and just try to find a fuel in the fire with that. But the Vikings, they looked impressive against what was my number 1. And that's about it that I got to say. Vikings at my number 7.
So at my number 7, I actually have the 49ers. Obviously, I don't know. We've basically said our piece about the Niners. They're missing CMC, which we think is a huge part of why they're not as successful. I said it, Purdy didn't know how to figure out Brian Flores' schemes. I mean, that's going to really be all. teams are going to be watching like what the Vikings do to counter the Niners. And like I said, Niners are the top dogs in the NFC. So beating them is truly special. But yeah, the Niners at 7.
And coming in at my number 6, I got the Cardinals.
I was surprised you even put them on the list.
It's a big jump up the list, but here's the thing. Kyler Murray, he had a perfect passer rating.
He did
in this game.
158.3.
He looked very impressive, and I don't know if you know this, but he has his own YouTube channel.
Does he play Call of Duty?
I didn't see any Call of Duty videos on his YouTube channel, but the only video that I've far from his YouTube channel was what a starting quarterback does before an NFL game. And it's actually like kind of cool, and it's just cool to see the more personal side. And like when we start seeing these athletes start sharing their personal side a little more, I think it really brings out the best in them. And Kyler Murray, he's looking like a top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now. So to have that going with you, your leader being as good as he is, this team, they could have a lot of potential. And what's crazy is they're so young. I mean, to have Trey McBride as your starting tight end, he's only in his second year in the league. And then talking about Marvin, that was his second game of his NFL career. Just imagine like how much further things could go for the Cardinals. I think there's a lot of promise with this team. James Conner as well. He played outstandingly. But once again, it was against this banged up Rams team that we've been talking about. But you said they kept up with the Bills, and the Bills are looking like they're one of the top dogs out there in the league right now. So putting Arizona in at my 6.
At my number 6, I have the New Orleans Saints. So, I don't know if you heard what Monroe said, that Saints just caught the Cowboys on a bad time. The Saints, I don't know. I may need one more week to actually officially put them inside my top 5, see if they're actually legit. If they put up like another 28 points on, I don't know who they play. We'll find that out later. But if they put another 28 points on this next team or more, I think the Saints are actually legitimate and they will probably be a contender for the Super Bowl. But right now, like, it's kind of see like the week 1, that's against Carolina. Their test was going into Dallas, and they beat the brakes off the Cowboys. So, obviously, I had them at 10 last week. They move up 4 spots this week, but I'm still not completely sold on the Saints.
Funny that, never mind. Shouldn't have said that. I was going to say something else, but my number 5, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. My goodness, like, this team's got like a second coming for them. Like, it's the second coming of Tom Brady with Baker Mayfield going on. It's absolutely amazing what they've been able to put together, especially that performance against the Lions. They made their offense look very stagnant throughout the entire game, which is such a shocker to me. Vita Vea, huge piece of the Buccaneers team with them too. And talk about their linebackers as well. Jamel Dean, he looked very impressive against what the Lions had going with them. I thought the Lions were going just like they did in week 1 against the Rams, and they got shut down hard. And this was such a great way to get their revenge on the Lions this past week. Tampa Bay is looking very solid, and over the last 6 years, they have the top receiving cores in the league. So don't underestimate what this team can do. And the things in the NFC South are pretty exciting for a couple of these teams. So, and then my number 5 are the Buccaneers.
So staying in the South, I actually have the Houston Texans.
You pranked me.
I did prank you. I didn't say NFC South. I say AFC South. I do have the Texans. I would say if they did beat the brakes off the Bears, which the Bears, I will say, have an incredible defense. I think that's one thing that the Bears are really known for, is that they have they do have Matt Eberflus, which is a defensive coach. Enough about the Bears. They're not in our top 10. Texans. They beat the Bears. C.J. Stroud, I mean, could potentially be MVP with how he's playing. Kind of struggled a little bit against the Bears. Joe Mixon is questionable. I do believe Tank Dell or Nico Collins is now questionable for the Vikings. So it's going to be, and they do have an amazing receiver core. You got Diggs, Tank Dell, Nico Collins, and Joe Mixon. And so next person up is Dameon Pierce or Cam Akers, who are both very, very good. I don't see a lot of flaws with this Texans team. They did beat the Colts in week 1, and then they just beat the Bears on Sunday night, and they had 7 sacks on Caleb Williams, and they did have, I think it was 37 for 38 or 39 pass rushes. They got pressure on Caleb Williams. And also, Danielle Hunter is also on the Texans, which is a player I'll always root for, besides on Sunday.
Pretty valid. So you got the Houston Texans as number 5. I'm sticking with the South as well, but this time in the NFC South, and in my number 4, I got the New Orleans Saints. Their offense, top offense in the league right now. Their defense looking pretty good as well. They really kept Dallas quiet at Jerry World last week, and you're talking about, we'll have to see if this is a fluke or not. This isn't looking like a fluke right now. Even though it is only 2 weeks, we have talked how it takes like 3 or 4 weeks to really figure out a team's identity as we go. And I think going into this week for the Saints up against the Eagles, I think this is going to be a really good matchup to really figure out if this is who the Saints truly are. But how about Alvin Kamara? He, last week, had a total of 4 touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns, 1 receiving touchdown. It was an incredible day for the running back. And the Cowboys just looked awful compared to how they looked against the Browns in week 1. They made the Browns look like absolute dog water. Now you're talking about how they were going to make the Saints look like. They made the Saints look like they were Super Bowl champions. Like, that's how good that they made them look. So I think there's a lot of hope within the Saints team. I just question Derek Carr, if he's going to be that guy who can be a true leader throughout. I really do like the guy. I like his personality. He seems like he can really help carry and move a team move forward, and especially with everything he was dealing with when he was with the back then. Like, you had to feel bad for the guy. So maybe a second coming of Drew Brees is in New Orleans.
Maybe.
And then my number 4 is Saints.
My number 4 is my Vikings. I still think it takes a very lot of talent to beat the San Francisco 49ers. I've talked about the Vikings enough, so I'm going to keep it short. Their defense is outstanding. You don't know what they're going to do. Sam Darnold is literally a second coming of Case Keenum by what it's looking like. So, honestly, now you have more better weapons. TJ Hawkinson is probably returning after 6 weeks. Still got Justin Jefferson. He'll play. Addison's so questionable. Aaron Jones and Ty Chandler are a good backfield duo. But yeah, the Vikings at 4, I mean, they're just playing really well. I mean, obviously, we can still see if they're contenders or pretenders, because a lot of people are saying they're pretenders. They played the Giants. I mean, yes, they played the Giants. It's the Giants. I mean, I'm not going to hold my head high over that victory. But the most impressive part is that they did beat the 49ers. That's the most impressive thing.
Very impressive indeed. And at my number 3, I'm putting the Houston Texans for this week. And they played very solid against the Chicago Bears this past week. I think a lot of people were expecting the game to go as it did from last week. Nico Collins also had a great game there as well. I think he had like 129 receiving yards. He had almost 3 quarters of C.J. Stroud's passing yards in this game. So they didn't really need C.J. Stroud much in this game at all. A big concern to them, Joe Mixon with that ankle injury, just hopefully he's all right with them because he was a huge part in their offense against the Colts in week 1. But their defense, they were really the stars of the show last week. They made Caleb Williams look like he just had to run away from every single situation. I mean, you're talking about, like you said, you cheer on Daniel Hunter. He was showing up big time. I think it's I forgot what his face was. He was the dude who punched the other guy.
Oh,
No,
Alshir.
Alshir.
Alshir, yeah.
Some Alshir
or something. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, like he looked really good too. He really fired up both sidelines for both teams. If you guys don't know the punch I'm talking about, he actually got fined like $11,000. That Derek Carr for his touchdown celebration against the Cowboys got fined more money than that. And it's like, what's the NFL doing here? But no, talking about Will Anderson Jr., I mean, the entire Texans defense did great. A total of 7 sacks on the Chicago Bears. They made that O-line look absolutely horrendous. And the Texans, they're going to be staying up in the top 10 all. So it's not surprising they're up.
So at my number 3, saying in the South, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, I don't know what else to say about this. They did go in and they beat the Lions even when they gave up 5 sacks. Baker looked good. I mean, I don't know. This team is really clicking. It's really clicking and coming along. And so I'm not going to say too much time on this, but I do have a good feeling that the Buccaneers and Saints will be maybe the top 2 teams in the playoffs.
In the playoffs, whoa.
Obviously, one has to be the 1 seed and 1 through 4. Another one has to be 5 through 7. But yeah.
Wow. A very early take, but honestly, right now the way it looks, it's very possible. Coming in at my number 2, this team wasn't even on my top 10 last week. I got the Buffalo Bills. I was worried that after week 1's performance, I didn't know what to think about the Arizona Cardinals. And they were leading almost the entire game against the Buffalo Bills. So I just didn't know what to think about either of these teams that are in my number 2, 6 right now. And week 2 made things seem a lot more evident, a lot more clear. Josh Allen, he doesn't need these. He doesn't need him to be a leader. He's being a leader himself, really take accountability for his own actions. And he's even just able to sling the ball down the field wherever he wants. Like, especially against the Dolphins this past Thursday, he looked like he could do whatever he wanted. And he barely even had to throw the ball around. It was mainly just him with his double or triple threat type of option of either running it or passing it. I mean, Josh Allen, he's really got everything going right for him. The defense of the Bills looked tremendous. Then again, Tua Tagovailoa really struggled in the first half of this game. He threw like 2 interceptions right off the bat and made Buffalo's defense look incredible. So I underestimated how great the Buffalo Bills really were, and that they deserve a lot after their performance last week. Curious to see how they do this week.
At my number 2, couldn't say any better, the Buffalo Bills. They beat the brakes off the Dolphins. They really did. I don't know. Like I said, James Cook had 3 total touchdowns. Josh Allen can still do it without top-notch receivers. So the Bills are coming at my number 2, keeping it short and simple. But I think we all know who we're going to have at number 1.
Yeah, number 1, they're the defending Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. To be the defending champs and to be a new number 1, you have who is number 1 right now. They haven't been knocked off yet. It was a dogfight against the Bengals this past week. They didn't look that good. Travis Kelce had no part at all in how the team's been performing, and it's definitely because that he's getting older. Like he's past his prime now, and I think he's starting to realize that. But everything else with the Chiefs, Patrick, he's not even looking like an quarterback, but still they're finding ways to win. And good teams, they find ways to win. You can argue with a wall. It could have been because of officiating, but it was a pass interference that happened in that game, but you just can't. It's the timing of the flag that really makes it absolutely insane to me. But with that being said, there's not much else. Chiefs team, it looks like Matt's raising his hand, ready to answer.
I'm ready to debate you on this thing for a quick second.
Go ahead.
So it's pass interference. I mean, looking back at it, obviously we were complaining. It was like, oh my gosh, it was pass interference. But actually looking at it, it was pass interference. But the big thing is, like, if the roles were flipped, not the teams, if I forgot Anthony Felipe, I don't know what his last name is, but the 7th round safety for the Bengals, if he was a wide receiver and I think it was Rashee Rice was the defender, it wouldn't have been called offensive pass interference. It would have been kept the same because they were both making a go for the ball, which is like, yeah, I mean, but he did get there early. But
no, totally. He ended up going for the ball, and I think this is where the NFL has to like somehow change that rule.
But it's also like if the Bengals were on offense and the Chiefs were on defense in that same situation, it wouldn't have been called offensive pass interference. It would only been called defensive pass interference. So that's my take on it. Is that if the roles were flipped, it would have been a clean play.
And it was clearly annoying how in the broadcast Jim Nantz said it's a complete pass, and like there's no flag, and about a second after the ball hits the ground, that's when the flag gets thrown up in the air. Like the flag doesn't get thrown as the penalty happens. Like the timing of it was really, and to make this look a little worse on the Chiefs as well, Patrick Mahomes, he advocated refs to not like throw these flags in these types of situations because they just want to let them play. Let them see what happens. That's what he said last year. And it's like, I don't know if you could also hear it in the broadcast, but as the officials were discussing what penalty or not, you could hear Mahomes like talk to the officials and say he hit him early, and all of that. And it's like, dude, what you just said, like, you're totally like taking it back, and it's just for yourself. But it's the Chiefs, man. Like, what do you expect? They turned from the underdog franchise when Tom Brady was with the Patriots into the New England Patriots, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, they're the new Patriots.
They're the new team that everybody hates.
Yes, it's the new team that everyone does hate.
Well, those are our top 10s. So.
Yeah, and now we got to speed through our game weekly pick'em.
Last week we ended up going 6-10. Hopefully we can clean things up a little bit more. We both picked the Jets for last night's game. We just were not able to make that announcement here because of time to film. So we both got the Jets correct, which is nice. We didn't get to talk about that game, but we'll talk about that game for next week. So how about this? To start off the noon games, we got the Giants against the Browns.
I mean, is that really much of a matchup? I mean, I'm taking the Browns. I mean, that's really easy.
Yeah, I'm taking the Browns as well. Next game on the lineup is, this might be one of the better games, the Eagles against the Saints in New Orleans.
I'm going to go with the Eagles. I think they'll bounce back from Monday night, even though it's a shortened week, and give Saints maybe a reality check, maybe.
I think the Saints could be legit here, and the fact that the Eagles lost the way they did, I don't think they're going to bounce back. And next up on the list is the Texans against the Vikings. So, in terms of our top 10,
They're 4-5 for me.
yeah, it's your 4 and 5 against a 3 and a 7 for me.
For me, it's going to be the upset. I'm taking the Texans. It's going to be really interesting to see how Minnesota does play. It depends if Sam Darnold keeps on continuing how he plays. We're going to be fine. But if he does have like his Sam Darnold moment, and he realizes he's Sam Darnold, we're not going to win.
I think you said almost the same thing last week about the game against San Francisco. And, like, here's the thing. This is in Minnesota.
It
So,
is in
like,
Minnesota, so
the
they do have
Vikings,
that going for them.
the Vikings have a great home field advantage. And you know what? I'm going to take the upset on this one. I'm going to take the Vikings over the Texans. I think this is going to be a pretty good dogfight throughout. The next game up on our list is the Broncos against the Buccaneers. 2 B teams against each other.
The Broncos have been really good. I'm taking the Buccaneers. Bro Nix hasn't been really looking that good this season. Preseason, amazing. Regular season, horrible. No rookie quarterback has thrown for a touchdown yet.
It's just an insane stat, really, that's going on around there. But I'm taking the Bucs as well. They're at home now. It's going to be a fun time in Tampa Bay for them. How about this one? The Packers going into Tennessee against the Titans.
Like I said, no Jordan Love, no problem. Give me the Packers.
Yeah, whether or not they do have Jordan Love, I think Green Bay's just so much of a better team. The Tennessee offense
It's
possibly
horrible.
one of the
Will Levis
worst,
is horrible.
possibly one of the worst offenses that we have seen in quite some time over there. So, got to feel bad for what they have there. It's all about their defense, but I'm taking the Packers too. Next game on our list is the Bears heading to Indy against the Colts.
I might go with an upset here. I don't know if you'll call it an upset, but I'm going to take the Colts. I think they shift things around. They're back at home. I think they're going to play how they did against the Texans.
Yeah, I don't think this is much of an upset. I'm taking the Colts as well over the Bears. And then it's the Chargers heading into Pittsburgh against the Steelers.
2-2-0 teams again. Which, surprisingly, we didn't. Both none of us had the Chargers in our top 10s. But I think it's going to be a defensive game. I'm going to take the Chargers because their offense is better. This is a really tough one to pick. I'm not even going to lie.
This is a tough one to pick. The Steelers' defense is always so good, but like
That's the thing. Like, they're so good that it's just that their offense can't do anything. And this is where I said earlier, where if their offense can't get going, they're not going to make a deep run. So I think this is a true test, see if they can get their offense going.
I'm sorry, I can't see the Steelers starting 3-0 here on the season. It's just not sitting well with me, especially with all the other that only have one win combined out of all of them, or 2 wins combined out of them. It's pathetic. So I'm taking the Chargers as well.
Yeah. Dolphins at Seahawks. I'm gonna take Seattle. I think Seattle's 1-1 or 2-0.
Seattle is 2-0.
Yeah, so I'm gonna take the Seahawks. I mean, they've been playing good. They did escape overtime against the Patriots. So
yeah, I'm taking the Seahawks as well in this one. Skylar Thompson, he looked really bad against the Bills. He barely passes the ball, and I just can't see that it's going well in Miami, considering they're one of the top. Taking the Seahawks.
Panthers at Raiders. Raiders coming with an upset win in Baltimore. They're going to get it done again against poverty franchise Carolina Panthers and poverty quarterback Andy Dalton.
You would hope, if you are a Bryce Young type of fan, that is what happens. I think that is what will happen. I'll take the Raiders as well.
49ers at the Rams. 2 very injury-prone games, but I'm going to take the away team, the 49ers. Rams just have too many injuries.
Yeah, I'm going to take the 49ers in this one too. And those games that are in LA, like, they don't really feel like Rams home games at all. And considering they're playing another California team, there's going to be a lot of 49ers going to take it.
Lions at Cardinals. I realize that we never put the Lions in our top 10, which might be a crime. Because they've been playing good. They just
we both did that?
Huh?
We both did that?
We both did that. None of us put the Lions. They should be 10. Never mind. Screw the Steelers. We always forget. Like, there's always, like, I do a lot. There's, like, a team. I make my top 10. I was like, oh, this is good. And I realize, like, oh, I completely forgot about this team.
I was telling you, I didn't even have my list ready. I didn't even look at a website or anything.
No, neither did I. These are down the sidelines, top tier list. But anyways,
you know what? I'm sticking with my list.
I don't know. I'm gonna go with the Lions on this one in a way upset. I would think maybe they do get their offense back going. I think this would be the good game to do because I don't really know how good Arizona's defense is.
Mm-hmm.
Even though
this could be the game.
Yeah, I still think it's going to be a good game. I just think that the Lions' defense will be able to contain Marvin Harrison more.
And this could be the game where that happens, but with how Kyler Murray's performed last, I gotta take the better quarterback over Jared Goff. I'm gonna take the Cardinals in this one. I think it will be pretty close, and I don't know much about the Cardinals' defense either, but the fact that the Rams only scored 10 points in the game and they were holding the Bills to barely any points throughout like the first half of the game in week 1, there might be some promise there.
There could be. But Ravens at Cowboys. I think the Ravens start the season 0-3. I think they do. I'm taking the Cowboys.
This is going to be another really close one, and the fact that the Ravens could start 0-3 is just beyond me. And this is almost me saying it doesn't seem possible that they're going to start 0-3. I could totally see Dallas just crapping the bed here in this game.
Starting 1-2.
I really could, because their last 2 games that they've played at Jerry World, they've played awful.
That is very true. Don't mind me. All right.
Because they're averaging, like, giving up 46 points a game or something like that. So it's really bad for I meant to pick the Ravens.
I put down Cowboys.
I'm taking the Ravens. I don't think they're starting.
So another primetime game for the Falcons. Chiefs versus Falcons. We all know. I was very surprised because Kirk Cousins did not throw an interception against the Eagles. But I'm taking the Chiefs. Chiefs are the team to beat. I don't think the Falcons, I don't think, have the weapons to do it.
I don't
Not saying their weapons are good. They have the weapons, but they're not proficient. Bijan is reliable.
Yeah.
Greg London is still a young guy. Kyle Pitts has his career wasted, so we got to see what he can do.
I don't think that they have it either. The Chiefs are just so much better of a team. The Falcons, they got lucky last week against the Eagles. They really did. I just don't see.
Quick question, Brenden. I think there's supposed to be a doubleheader for the Monday night.
There are 2 Monday night games.
You only put down one. It's supposed to be the Bills and another team, I think.
Oh, let's figure this out. Bills and Jaguars.
Jags and Bills. Oh, my bad. Not bad. Anyways, Commanders at Bengals. Give me the Bengals. They're over their 0-2 slump. They're gonna win against the Commanders. In my opinion, they're in Cincy. It's gonna be a better game for them.
Being in Cincy is going to be nice for them. They were in Cincy, though, when they played the Patriots. But the Bengals, I think they can take this over the Commanders. And then the last game of the Monday night doubleheaders, Bills and the Jaguars. I think I know who you're going to go with here.
I think we both know who we're going to pick with. We're going to take the Bills. I believe it's in Apple Orchard. It is in Apple Orchard Park.
Oh yeah.
So Bills Mafia is going to be going crazy. So give me the Bills. As Trevor Lawrence says, we just suck right now.
Hey, it's not you who said it. It's him who said
It's
it.
him
That's
who
all
said
that
it.
matters. So yeah, I'm taking the Bills too in this one. I think they're gonna blow the lights off out of the freaking Jaguars. So
And
those are
those are our predictions, and that's it for this episode. So episode 4 is officially in the books. Obviously, if you guys did enjoy, go down, click the like button, subscribe, comment, turn on notification bells, and we will work to get our TikTok back up because clearly it got taken down and it's lost forever.
yeah, it beats me what happened with it, but yes, we thank you guys for tuning in to episode 4 of season 3 of the reboot of the Dodds podcast. A pretty good one, and I'm excited.
It's a little longer. It's an hour and a half, roughly, a little bit over. But anyways,
Yeah, considering that week 2,
yeah.
I'm gonna keep talking because I was still talking.
That's the one thing that's super hard about Discord is that we just when we want to talk, we both talk at the same time.
It's the delay that we got on it, but no. So in week 2, we saw a lot of upsets happen. Let's see what happens this week, and could be the same story. Could be a different story. Who's gonna up on top? Who knows? We got plenty more weeks ahead. For now, it's the Chiefs, and that's essentially it that we got. So
yeah,
thank you guys for tuning in here on the home sideline. It's your boy Brenden signing off here from Stevens Point as I gotta get ready for work.
Signing off from Poygan, Wisconsin, in my brother's house. Matt Crowley, aka your boy Matty Icy, signing off for episode 4, and we'll be back next week with episode 5.
In the kitchen. He's in the kitchen.
I'm in the kitchen. Let me cook. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you in the next episode.
Peace.